everyone! In here, I will do one of my homework from the course of intercultural listening. But before that, I have to introduce myself to all of you. So my complete name is Riani Warela, just call me Ani. And in here, based the course of intercultural listening, I will make the differences between three countries, that is American, Australian, and also Malaysia. So, this is according to me, based my opinion. Australian, American, and Malaysian accents have quite clear differences in pronunciation, intonations, and distinctive phonological features. The Australian accent is known as non-rhotic, meaning the letter R at the end of a word or after a vowel is not pronounced. Unlike the American accent, which is rhotic, so the R is always clearly heard. Vowels in the Australian accent often sounds more broadened or shift, while the American accent maintains more neutral vowels, although with many regional variations. On the other hand, the Malaysian accent tends to simply vowels and diphthongs. For example, O become O, and often drops final consonants such as D in the word cold, which is pronounced as cold. In terms of pronouncing TH, Americans and most Australian speakers pronounce it with the original fricative sounds and whereas Malaysian speakers often replace it with T or D, so think sounds like think, and this THIS become this. In terms of intonations, the Australian accent sometimes uses a high rising terminal passion, which means the pitch rises at the end of a sentence, even in statements, while the American accent usually falls at the end of a sentence to give a firm impressions. The Malaysian accent, in contrast, tends to sound flatter or more neutral, influenced by the intonation patterns of the Malay language. Overall, the Australian accent is distinctive for its unique vowel qualities. The American accent is marked by its strong R pronunciation and regional diversity, while the Malaysian accent is influenced by local language, making it simple and different from the other two. Okay everyone, maybe that's from me. I hope that what I say in this time may be useful for you, and thank you so much for your watching. Good afternoon, bye bye, see you. Hello everyone. Okay, in here I will do my homework from the course of intercultural listening. But before that, I have to introduce myself. So my complete name is Riani Warela, just call me Ani. And in here, based the videos that we already watching together, I will make the differences between three countries in that video. That is American, Australian, and also Malaysia. This is according to me and based my opinion. So, according to me, Australian, American, and Malaysian accents have quite clear differences in pronunciation, intonations, and also distinctive phonological features. The Australian accent is known as non-rhotic, meaning the letter R at the end of a word or after a vowel is not pronounced, unlike the American accent, which is rhotic. So the R is always clearly heard. Vowels in the Australian accent often sound more burdened or shit, while the American accent maintains more neutral vowels, although with many regional variations. On the other hand, the Malaysian accent tends to simplify vowels and diphthongs. For example, O become O, and often drops final consonants such as D in the word cold, COLD, which is pronounced as coal. In terms of pronouncing TH, Americans and most Australian speakers pronounce it with the original fricative sounds t or f, whereas Malaysian speakers often replace it with T or D. So think THINK sounds like thing, and this THIS become this. In terms of intonations, the Australian accent sometimes uses a high-rising terminal pattern, which means the pitch rises at the end of a sentence, even in statements, while the American accent usually falls at the end of a sentence to give a firm impression. The Malaysian accent, in contrast, tends to sound flatter or more neutral, influenced by the intonation patterns of Malay language. Overall, the Australian accent is distinctive for its unique vowel qualities. The American accent is marked by its strong R. Pronunciation and regional diversity, while the Malaysian accent is influenced by local language, making it simple or different from the other two. Okay, everyone, maybe that's from me. I hope that what I say in this time may be useful for you. And thank you so much for your watching. Good afternoon. Bye bye. See you.
Hello everyone. Today I want to explain about the differences between accent in Australian, American, and Malaysian accent. Okay, not just accent, not just the differences, but the comparison, the similarities in Malaysian accent, American accent, and Australian accent. Okay, but the first, before I explain before I give my opinion, I will introduce myself. Okay, my name is Rudolf Erwat, and I'm at third semester, and I make this for the course, the assignment by course of intercultural listening. Okay, let's start. The first is I will explain the Australian accent. Okay, Aussie accent usually flatten their vowels a bit. The I and E sounds can feel closer together, and words like Kate sound less open than in American. The famous long A in words like dance or change can shift somewhere between A, and E. Depending on the speaker, most Australians don't pronounce the R at the end of words. Like car, they usually say it ka, and which makes them non-rhotic. Their intonation can sound kind of melodic but also flatter than American English, and their T sounds, like in water, don't usually flap like Americans do. It's either a soft T or skipped slightly. And the next is American accent. Americans hit that R hard. Every R gets pronounced even at the end of words. The T between vowels often turns into a quick D sound, like butter. They make the butter sounds like butter. And vowels are really distinct. Cat is a wide open A. Go has the sliding O. Sound intonation tends to rise and fall more dramatically, which makes the speech sound bouncy or expressive. And then the last is Malaysian accent. Malaysian English often called Manglish when informal has its own vibe. Vowels are clearer and simpler, without as much glide or coloring as Aussies or American speech. The R can be weak or dropped, depending on who's talking. Intonation is usually flatter, sometimes a bit formal, influenced by classroom English. The T sound, T and H sound, or T sounds sometimes get replaced by T or D, so think could sound like think. Stress patterns are still there, but overall rhythm is steadier. Okay, and then so the side-by-side comparison is R sound in American, weak in Aussie, variable in Malaysian. T sound flaps in American, like water, it's going to be water. Soft in Aussie, sharper in Malaysian. And then vowels, Aussie vowels sound better American. Vowels are dramatic, Malaysian vowels are clearer and simpler. Intonation, American is expressive, Aussie is melodic but flatter, Malaysian is steady and formal. And then T sound or T and H sound, American Aussie nail it more often, Malaysia may switch to T or D. And then the similarities, all three still share the same core. English phonemes, you recognize word instantly. They are usually stressed on certain syllables, and natural speech processes like blending sound together happen in every accent. The difference mostly come down to how vowels are colored, how R is handled, and the rhythm of the speech. Okay, this is so that is my opinion. Just remember, that's my opinion. It's according to me about the differences between Australian accent, the American accent, and Malaysian accent. So, thank you for watching this video and see you.
Hello friends, at this time I want to make assignment in the intercultural listening course, which is to make a difference between American, Malaysia and Australia. The Australia, America and Malaysia accent have several differences that can be identified in terms of intonation, verbs, consist, and speech rhythm. In terms of intonation, the Australian accent tend to have a light rise and fall pattern and often use a raising intonation at the end of sentence, even in statement. In contrast, the American accent is more linear, which clears stress on K words and affirm melodic intonation. The Malaysian accent is usually patterned with less variation, although some speakers may show a rising tone at the end of clause. Some words also highlight striking difference between the three actions. For example, dance is pronunciation, the I and in Australian English, dance in American English, and might be either in Malaysia English. The word butter is pronunciation with a clear Z in Australian and Malaysia English, but often with a verb in American English. Meanwhile, here my sound slightly shifted in Australian English, clearly here in American English, and very in Malaysia English. Finally, regarding speech rhythm, the Australian accent tend to be faster and more fluid, with sounds sometimes blending together. The American accent is relatively flexible, fast or slow depending on the region, but usually maintains clear articulation of important words. The Malaysian accent, on the other hand, in general slower with small uses that allow for clear articulation, especially since English is a second language for most speakers. Okay, maybe from Jasmine. Thank you. Bye bye.